Hello and welcome to tonight's LOL Esports Roundup. We're going to cover the games from the LPL, LCK, and LEC from today, and then preview tomorrow's LPL and LEC games. Predictions: I'm 155 and 64. I went 7 and 3 on the board. 7 and 3 is pretty normal for me on these LEC and LCS days. Sometimes I pepper in an 8 and 2. Last week I had a 5 and 10 day. 7 and 10 combined back-to-back days. More often than not, those 7 and 3. It's weird. Recap. LPL, first we have FPX and BLG. BLG win 2-0. They're now 11 and 1. FPX 4 and 8. Elk went 14, 3 and 15, 34% of damage. Bin 11, 2 and 11, played Renekton in both games. Care 8, 8, 9, 29% of damage in the loss for FPX. So it's not a surprise that Care ends up being the top player for FPX. Yagao being more of a facilitator, having to eat a little bit of damage in the early game in laning because Care is usually playing something with a little bit more pressure. But why is Bin MVP? Game 1, I thought he was excellent. Really brought the team up a level. FPX were competitive in the early game. LWX actually played pretty good in this series, in my opinion, in the bot lane. And then in Game 2, Elk took over. So it was pretty much a matter of which game did you want to pick MVP for, because I thought Bin in Game 2 didn't have nearly as much impact as Game 1. And the same thing with Elk in Game 1 versus Game 2. Shun looked very good in Game 2. Game 1, not as much. And Yagao kind of doing his thing, under the radar. I thought Ana Nautilus was better than the last time he played it. But we do have to think about how good LWX was at times, and then compare that, to the fact that he's a bot laner into Elk and On. If he's able to get that freedom and actually make things happen, maybe we do have to pick Bin because he really eliminated Jalahu and, took it to FPX. So, Bin, MVP in BLG's 2-0 win over FPX. Top Esports, Rare Adam. Top Esports win 2-0. They're 9 and 3. Rare Adam 4 and 8. Rookie was my MVP, playing Ari and Jace. Jackie Love 14, 1 and 17, 32% of damage. Mark 1, 2 and 33. So the bot lane went 15, 3 and 50 by themselves. Zhao Zhu 4, 6, 2, 30% of damage in top lane. Zhao Zhu actually, despite being solo killed by Wayward, had more impact on the game than Wayward, if that makes sense. Wayward had less DPM than Tien. Tien playing Vi and actually looking very good on it in Game 1. And it was a surprise, honestly, to see Tien actually have more damage than Wayward. It made me consider making Tien MVP. Honestly, outside of Wayward, I think there was a case to be made that all 4 players in top had a very big impact on this one. But Rookie setting things up on Ari, dealing damage on Jace, he was the one that really came through for me. Jackie obviously doing well. Astum having some nice plays. One Ash arrow from bot lane was pretty epic. Into mid lane, actually really, really good predict there. But not able to really take over. I also thought Rookie gapped Strive big time in Game 2. I mean, like a 50 CS diffy. Quite a big deal. And with that, I did end up, leaning towards Rookie just due to that fact alone, that he, in his matchup, was very dominant. Where Leyan had some moments where he actually was able to make things happen for Rare Adam. This wasn't the cleanest 2-0 in history. So making Tien MVP, I guess, was eliminated there, and it really became between Jackie Love and Rookie. And I went with Rookie because of the lane diff. So that's that. And then OMG, LNG. LNG would win 2-0. I don't know why I did it the wrong way there. OMG are now 7 and 3. LNG 8 and 4. Scout was my MVP as a facilitator. Gala 15, 2 and 18, 33% of damage. Zika 3-0, 22 in top lane. Cream 3-6-2, 35% of damage in mid lane. I do think Cream solo killed Scout at one point, but Scout on the Nico and the Annie had tremendous impact as a facilitator, like I said. I mean, he got his nose in there. He made things happen. His pop blossoms were on point. His stuns were on point with Annie. I thought he played very well. Zika, obviously, into Shanji does deserve some credit for not dying, playing his role. in doing it well. Tarzan in game 1 was probably the MVP of that game by itself. On the Wukong, he played very, very well, but in game 2, not quite as impactful. So I took him off of there, took him out of the MVP race, if you will. Gala, very good. Obviously, Abel and PP God not able to stand a chance against Gala and Hung, which is an issue. But at the same time, OMG are what they are. We had two teams, 8th and 9th in the power rankings, playing each other, and LNG won. So, you know, a 2-0, a pretty dominant 2-0, honestly. So, I mean, I was going to say, you know, it shows that they're close in the power rankings and they are similar in level, but at the same time, LNG did beat them by a little bit here. And it's tough because OMG are like a bit of inters. I still don't think Aki is that great. He's done better on facilitators and improved, but I still wouldn't consider him nearly at Tarzan's level. Cream, very one-dimensional. Shanji is the carry in top lane, so if they're putting Cream on carries instead of Shanji, you know, but the issue is Cream is not a great facilitator. That's not his bag, so it's a tough situation for OMG, right? They have to scream one-dimensional play, putting Aki on facilitators, and then having Shanji. Shanji's advantage is having an extremely deep champion pool. Cream is great on melees, but, you know, that isn't enough sometimes. So, you know, LNG were just so much better. LCK, HLE, Gen G. Also, I screwed this one up. I don't know why I have the 2-0 the way I do. Gen G did win. They're 8-0. HLE 4-4. Pays was MVP. 20 kills, 3 deaths, 14 assists, 35% of damage. Doran, 6-2-17. One of those deaths being a solo death against Kingen. Viper, 6-7-8. 28% of damage in the loss. It kind of shows you how lopsided it was because Viper only was 6 kills. I mean, when was the last... I mean, I'm sure it's already happened like this year or something, but I mean, it's really, it doesn't happen very often when Viper has under double-digit kills, right? Usually he is the one doing the damage. I thought Zeka had some really nice moments in this series in the loss. Kingen obviously with that solo kill. And Grizzly looked good on Viego at points, which is very good for his development. I think it's very important. We need to make note of things like that for a young player. That honestly, one could argue he is maybe not ready for the spotlight, but at the same time, this is a team that is expected to be a world's contender. So for him to come in and have some moments against Gen G is important. Now, as far as the rest of the game's concerned, Grizzly could not keep up with Peanut, as Peanut was very good on his Poppy and facilitating, as Peanut does, one of the best facilitators, if not the best facilitating jungler in the world. You got to put him alongside Tian in that respect, in my opinion. So at least last year, I haven't really considered facilitator junglers lately. So it's more of a world's thought, if anything. Regardless, but Pays came through in the mid to late game in these ones, and that was what the difference was, really. Honestly, I thought HLE kept pace in the early game, but then Gen G would take over and just open up gaps at the end of laning phase, finding macro opportunities, and Pays cleaning up. So, I mean, HLE 4-4 losing to Gen G isn't a shock. Obviously, 7th in the power rankings when I had Clid still on their team. Grizzly ends up playing for them the next day. The HLE aren't quite what they were before. Nongshim T1. T1 win 2-1. They're 6-2. Nongshim 1-7. So this morning I wasn't watching this live, but I was awake and doing some things, trying to catch up on the predictions. I'm nowhere near close enough to post on the Discord. I'm hoping tonight I can get it done. But regardless, you would think that T1 got blown out by Nongshim in game 1 with how negative the Discord was towards T1. But it was close. Now, is that good for T1? No, you should not be losing to Nongshim. I would consider that a bad game, for sure. And they have not played as clean as many would like. But they're 6-2. Not playing as clean as people would like. They're winning 2-1. Zayu's finally showing up. I mean, Zayu 7-5-21, 31% of damage. Owner 11-4-25. You would think Owner played like crap. That, he didn't go this way by the end of the series. Like, he showed up in a big way in Game 3 on the Vi. Obviously, they were talking during Game 1, but at the same time, I thought that he played very well when it mattered in Game 3, and Sylvie was nowhere to be found. Fiesta, 10-10-17, 33% damage. I thought he was better than Faker today. So Game 1, speaking of that, we're going to talk about this. Game 1, they put Faker on Tristana. I'm not shocked that they lost. Zeus on Sion. I've been saying this. I'm going to keep saying it. KT has the blueprint for how a team formed like T1 needs to play as well. T1 needs to play like KT is. Putting Keen on carries, then you put Zeus on carries. You see games 2 and 3. Zeus is on Gnar. Is Gnar a carry? No, but it sure as hell is more of a carry than Sion. And we have Faker on Annie instead of Tristana, and all of a sudden, he is now a facilitator. Sure, Annie can deal a lot of damage, and some people have been able to carry on it, but the point is your stuns, your Tibbers, things like that, those are facilitating abilities. So, Everfrost, Proto Belt, whatever. The list goes on of things that, you know what I'm saying. So, when Fiesta's on Azir, he did better than Faker did. Fiesta looked very good today. Despite dying 10 times, I thought he was excellent in their win, and I thought in Game 2 he was very good as well. Jiwoo, also very good on the Nyla. Probably the best Nyla performance we've seen this year. Not many, probably under 10, I think, in the 4 major regions, if not just a handful. But I thought honestly, I thought the bot lane of Nongshim was better than T1's. Zeus 1v9'd this one, if you look at all 3 games. And in Game 3, Owner did his thing, so 2v8. Guma playing Draven Game 3, get a coin out, flip it, see what happens. They did have some int moments still into Jiwoo and Peter. So, in the end, the bot lane did not impress me. Guma and Keria not doing very well, and that is something to note in the second half of the split here that's coming up in the LCK, that those two need to start ramping it up and getting better. And getting into form if they want to be a real threat. Because honestly, Nongshim, top side of the rift, T1, mid bot Nongshim, but T1 find a way because of Zeus and his way in his ultis on Gnar, and just honestly dealing that much damage, 31% of the team's damage, playing Gnar twice and Sion. I mean, I think that says it all. LEC, XL Astralis. XL would win. They're 4-4, Astralis 3-5. Abadage was MVP, 635, 30% of damage. Patrick 507. Leader 242, 32% of damage in the loss. Astralis actually had quite a lead in this one and blew it. The early game was all Astralis. They were playing excellent. However, they would throw. XL find a way. Abadage doing his job at a high level, dealing damage alongside Patrick. Odoamne facilitating. Peach on the Amumu finding good opportunities, which I thought was nice. Obviously, Peach, I said yesterday, I don't think he is major region quality, and he still may not be, but he did find a way to beat 113, who one could argue is also not major region quality, but that's not his fault. He's a little younger than Peach. Actually, he could be a few years younger than Peach, to be frank. So it's hard to really blame him in that respect. But the thing is, Astralis are kind of due for some losses here. I did pick them to win in my predictions, but if you really think about it, Finn can only carry Astralis so far. However, XL, same deal with Abadage, really. Can Abadage really get them pretty far? Once again, he's leading the team. He's got an MVP. I think in all 4 of XL's wins, I've named Abadage their MVP, which is quite a thought. Quite a time loop we're in here. In Jonghoon, not as near the, I just thought about it. He's on Blitzcrank, and I didn't think he did much at all in the mid to late game to actually, pick off Patrick and do what he had to do. So, would like more out of him. I feel like he's really taken a back seat this split compared to what I've thought of Jonghoon in the past. G2 and Koi. G2 win. They're 7-1. Koi 3-5. Hansama 205. 30% of damage on Kog'Maw. Yikes 7-1-1 on Kha'Zix was MVP. Sisgenda 1-3-1. 34% of damage on Gwen. So, Hans deals a lot of damage, but frankly, the game was over in the early game when Yike was all over the damn place on Kha'Zix. he was gapping Malrang. Keep in mind, Malrang did kill Yike in the very, very first couple levels. Malrang did keep up in the first few minutes, but then Yike was just everywhere. And Sisgenda had no response. He wasn't able to defend himself in top lane. The bot lane of Koi struggling. And because of that, Yike was able to open up a lead with his pressure. And then in the mid to late game, or very late game for that matter, Hansama dealt some damage. Got a couple assists, got a couple kills. But frankly, it was Yike who did the heavy lifting to get Koi in a hole and keep Malrang from affecting the Rift. So... I mean, a slow game, a very slow game that, G2 were able to win. Heretics, Fnatic. Fnatic win, they're 7-1. Heretics 5-3. Oscarinin went 4-9, 28% of damage. Noah was my MVP, 9-1-4. Flackett, 3-1-4, 37% of damage in the loss. So, after watching the game, I named Oscarinin an MVP. But at the same time, I was thinking to myself, now, and I thought about it then, it crossed my mind, and now rethinking about it. In the early to mid game, Oscarinin was dominant on Olaf. Really was. Vethio looked extremely good on LeBlanc again in mid lane. Both of them had 4K gold leads in the mid lane against the opposition. So it was between those two to determine who would win, right? But then Noah comes out and says, oh, no. I am here now. I have my items. I can deal damage. And Noah got after it. And he ended up being the difference maker. The most valuable player was Noah because it's Oscarinin versus Vethio. And then Noah came in. And that changed everything. Because although Flackett dealt a good amount of damage, he wasn't able to finish things off. Vethio's not able to finish things off either, and they end up losing. And, a Fnatic G2, in the end, after all of Fnatic's struggles this past offseason and in the early part of this year, in the end, right now, we have G2 and Fnatic jostling at the top of the standings once more. And I will say I wish Reckless was on the team, but he is on the team, but he's not playing. And I don't hide the fact that Reckless is one of my most favorite players ever. But at the same time, he's a bit washed. I can acknowledge that. And, now what, I was talking about there, what a time to be alive, Abadage leading. What a time to be alive. G2 and Fnatic once again at the top. BDS Vitality, BDS win. Adam was MVP on set. Crowny 6-2-9, 34% of damage. Nuck 6-3-11. Perks 5-2-11, 28% of damage in the loss. This was a slugfest between two teams towards the bottom of the standings. It was messy, it was sloppy, it was back and forth. And somehow, some way, Adam found an extra ulti in a team fight to make things happen. Honestly, his facilitating was on point in the set. And it has been. His set is extremely aggressive. We've seen it before, and for better or for worse, and today it was for better, to be quite honest about it. Because Photon had some really nice plays as well in top lane for Vitality in the early game, but then would get caught out being too aggressive, making mistakes, and blowing it on Renekton. Douglas, I thought, did very well again. He was ahead of Sheo by, I think, 2K gold in the mid-game. So I'm not going to blame him for this. Not at all. Perks did his thing. Upset's had good moments too in team fights. It's really, in the end, Vitality lost too many games. And that sounds really silly to say, right? Of course they lost too many games. But they lost too many games, so throughout the entire year, trying to figure out what do they want to do. How do I want to play? Do we do this? Do we do this? Do we do that? How do we play? They wasted too much time. So now, as you see some bright spots, you see a game where they're very competitive against BDS, the team that just won last split. They're 3-5, but just won and won yesterday. No, didn't win yesterday. Maybe won Monday. So I mean Saturday. regardless. Vitality are playing better now than they were playing at the beginning of the split. And they're, unfortunately, it's too late. It's too late. I think they're out now. Yeah, I think they're out. Yeah, that's, I said it yesterday, that's the biggest disappointment of all 4 major regions. Yeah. SK Mad Lions, SK win. They're 3-5. Mad Lions 4-4. Marcoon was MVP on Poppy. Irrelevant 5-2-9, 27% damage on Gragas. Certus 10-0-10 on Silas. Niski 1-6-1, 32% of damage on Azir in the loss. This game was an absolute blowout. I can't believe it took so long. Honestly, so SK are not the team that they were in winter that I was super hyped about. In spring, they were below average. And honestly, this win's okay, but SK have not blown my socks off in summer either. And a lot of it has to do with a game like this, for example. They have a big lead, and in winter, they were able to close those games out very cleanly. And it was like, it honestly was something that told me, hey, this team, they know how to win. Today was an example of, I don't know how to close this game out. It's taking too long to close this game out. Now, did they blow them out and in the end win? Yes. Did Mad Lions come back? No. But you would like it to be a cleaner end game for SK, because SK crushed them. Marcoon was all over the place. Like Yike, Marcoon was everywhere. And honestly, he had like 5 kills in the early game. Like, his Poppy was disgusting. When you allow Marcoon to be a facilitator, SK are in their best place. I can't believe Irrelevant led the team in damage on Gragas. He had a nice double kill in the mid game. That was a pretty big deal. But it's something to note. You see the solo laners on here, not Exakick as the lead damage dealer, best KDA of the day. So that is something to note too. You know, the SK solo laners came through. Chasey, once again, Chasey took the moniker of Irrelevant for this one. So, you know, luckily Fnatic are doing well, because, you know, the deal is really LEC, once again, is at a point where you're looking at the 3 and 4 seeds and you're saying to yourself, they're not better than the LCS. They're not better than the LCS. You know, they're really not. They're not dominant in their own region. So it's, you know, it's hard to, thinking about power rankings right now, it's just not up to snuff. Sneak peek for tomorrow. Oh my God, what the hell just came out of my mouth? What words just were spoken? So, LPL, IG, Anyone's Legend, IG 2-9, coming off of a loss to Top Esports. AL 4-7, coming off of a win against Rare Adam. Last time these two teams played, IG won 2-0. The only matchup that remains the same is top lane. YSKM went 15-9-16 for 24% of damage. ZDZ 6-14-11 with 24% of damage. A very different look, because those two players were the only matchup that are the same, like I said. And IG actually had played Nenny mid in that one. That was before Dove had imported from Korea. Team World Elite and LGD. I forgot to put Team World Elite's power rankings up there. I think they're 13th. So Team Wii, 13th in the power rankings, 5-4, coming off of a loss to EDG. LGD, 1-10, coming off of a loss to BLG. Last time these two teams played, Team Wii won 2-1. We're highlighting the mid matchup. Shanks went 12-5-22 for 29% of damage. I believe that led Team Wii in the win. Hai Chao 5-3-13, taking on a KDA approach with only 16% of damage. Don't touch me, don't touch me. I'm not going to die in this game, but I'm also not going to deal damage. That was the vibe I got from that one. LEC preview for the final day of summer regular season. Vitality XL, Last time they played, Vitality won. Upset went 907, 33% of damage. Patrick 231, 33% of damage. This game matters a lot more for Excel than it does for Vitality. BDS Mad Lions. BDS are 3-5. Mad Lions 18th in the power rankings, 4-4. Last time they played was Spring Finals. Mad Lions won 3-2. Carzy 32, 11, and 19 with 34% of damage in the win. Crowny 27, 11, and 17, 33% of damage in the loss. That one obviously mattering quite a bit as we have a few 3-5 teams tied. One of them is not going to be going to the playoffs or the group stage. Koi and Astralis. Last time they played, Astralis won. They're both 3-5. This actually is the one that determines possibly who's booted. Finn, 104, 28% of damage in the win. Sisgenda, 012, 18% of damage in the loss. Heretics G2. Heretics 21st in the power rankings, 5-3. G2 7-1, 12th in the power rankings. Last time they played, G2 won. Broken Blade, Yike, and Mickey X went 7, 6, and 25 for 1,087 DPM. That was 45% of the team's damage. Evie, Yankos, Mursa went 6, 12, and 6 for 971 DPM and 52% of damage. So more than half the damage of Heretics came from the non-2 key carry roles of mid-80 carry. G2, the opposite, their carry roles taking on the carry role, and also dealing more damage than Heretics. Lastly, SK Fnatic, SK 3-5, Fnatic 17th in the power rankings, 7-1. Last time they played, SK won. Irrelevant, Marcoon, Certus went 17, 1, and 22 in the win. It was a blowout. 1,436 DPM, 75% of damage. Oscarinin, Razor, Humanoid went 3, 14, and 6 for 1,334 DPM. So actually only 100 DPM less and 75% of damage. So actually those fights were really close, but SK just inched ahead every time. It's pretty much what I got from that one. So that's it for the roundup. Thank you for watching. If you liked the video, like it, subscribe to the channel for daily League of Legends content. Follow me on Twitter, join the Discord, become a YouTube supporter, and I hope to see you again tomorrow.